Cuomo, welcome to NewsNation. 3 questions as food for thought for you, okay? Maybe 1 question and a couple of comments. I don't know, you tell me. Here's the first question. Does Elon Musk have a Fauci problem? Now, I'm not referring to his kind of empty hatred of Fauci or his problematic repeating of half-truths and outright poppycock about Tony Fauci. However, Musk tweeting, "My pronouns are prosecute Fauci," is a little bit of a sign of why he may now be in deep suck and suspected to be out soon. I'm asking if he has a Fauci problem in a different way. My context is that is he now in a similar situation to the once embattled scientist? This position, perilous, of, and also ill-fated ultimately, right, of being an unelected face of a major and controversial government operation. Fauci, of course, was the face of COVID, right, for 2 different administrations. Musk is the face of DOGE, of downsizing, right, of reducing government. Both are seen by critics as doing too much to too many in ways that may make the remedy worse than the malady they address. So does he have a Fauci issue? Now, here's the distinction. Musk's main credential seems to be that he is really rich, okay? But he has an obvious ignorance, despite being a genius in other ways, when it comes to how government and how politics work. He's clearly out of his depth. I'm not saying he can't find efficiencies and waste. I mean, who couldn't? Nobody's ever looked for these things and failed to find them, okay? But for all the Fauci bashing, Trump never even mentioned moving him out, as he is doing now with Musk. Now, you could argue that legally he couldn't move out Fauci, but first of all, a legal impediment has never stopped President Trump from trying something in public or personal life. Besides, he could have made his political appointees fire Fauci, and that would have been fine. So why didn't he? Because he saw in Fauci a skilled operator in a time of crisis. Musk's problem is, like we saw with Fauci, he's become the poster boy for problems with the administration's efforts. However, outside the MAGA folk, he has little love coming his way, as witnessed from the polls and public attacks of his ready, shoot, aim, DOGE efforts and constant mistakes about how things work. And now the trouncing that he and his millions that he spent in Wisconsin took. Many are saying Musk may have actually added to the margin of defeat for the Republicans in Wisconsin. Hence, the Trump telltale that someone is on the way out. The old telling the inner circle story that you'll hear during a Trump administration. Whenever you hear that he's talking to his inner circle, someone's going to die, okay? This is how Trump usually tests and foreshadows an exit. Now, does that mean that Musk is going to leave, and soon? Now, another indication that he's got trouble is that Musk doesn't seem to have the same lock on the fringy pod people anymore. You know, the media minions that kind of echo everything MAGA. Have you noticed that his buddy Joe Rogan, who swallowed the idea that Social Security is a terrible drain on the deficit, even though legally it has nothing to do with our deficit, but now he's kind of admitting the obvious. Rogan's saying that, you know, some of the Trump administration's best moves, which would be on immigration, are still, some of them are hasty and hurtful, right? He's just supposed to get the wrong hombre. He was supposed to round up the bad hombres. But now, too often, he seems to be getting the wrong hombres. And instead of just finding bad hombres, he seems to just sell this idea that it's okay to send people who aren't really here for bad reason to bad places. Even Ann Coulter questioned Trump deporting a pro-Gaza Columbia campus protester, Mahmoud Khalil. So if you start to see these cracks of people who usually believe everything he puts out there, Musk was usually a galvanizer there. And if he can't keep the media minions in check, and he's a lightning rod for critics and controversy, how long until he gets the full Fauci and gets thanked and pushed out and then blamed for a lot on the back end? Point 2, the wisdom of Wisconsin. Did we see a sign of a potential midterm massacre? Despite all the mandate talk and some significant demographic shifts in Trump's favor, the truth about the last election is that the Democrats lost more than Trump did things to win. Trump is still wildly unpopular in most of the country and with most people. And notions that he's on an epic popularity run are about as legit as Newsmax's stock price being over $100, okay? The hype gave way in both cases and in epic fashion. Democrats can connect to the common cause, as we saw in the Wisconsin Supreme Court election last night. Now, I would argue that that is the lesson for them to look at, not Senator Cory Booker talking for a long time about things that may or may not happen. You know, I guess you can celebrate his achievement of talking that long. I just don't see that they're there for people. The whole headline is the whole story. Booker talked a long time. Wisconsin has a real narrative that when you presented a population with a question, a proposition, whom do you trust to respect the law? The Trumpy candidate was trounced. In the first statewide election since Trump won and Musk's moves with Doge, the Democratic-backed candidate for the Supreme Court in Wisconsin won the election by double digits. Musk made his money and his cheesehead a centerpiece of the proposition, and the voters kicked him to the curb. Point 3, Liberation Day may wind up meaning that it was the day that MAGA folk were liberated from the fealty, where they have to tell everything that Trump wants them to tell, and instead can talk about the truth, especially when it comes to dicey moves like these tariffs, which a lot of economists are calling reckless and pointless. Trump just announced a universal 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. goes into effect Saturday. But for other countries, he says, you know, if they're being unfair to the U.S., he will be imposing even higher tariffs using a formula. And they go into effect next week. Take a listen.
For nations that treat us badly, we will calculate the combined rate of all their tariffs, non-monetary barriers, and other forms of cheating. And because we are being very kind, we will charge them approximately half of what they are and have been charging us. European Union, they're very tough, very, very tough traders. 39%, we're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half. Indonesia, Malaysia, Cambodia, oh, look at Cambodia, 97%. We're going to bring it down to 49%. They made a fortune.
Hey, he's laughing now, but I don't know who the joke's going to wind up being on. Now, Trump's pitch is that he's just doing to them what they're doing to us, reciprocal tariffs. But the data doesn't appear to support that. And he is not being clear about how they came up with the numbers either, okay? Like for Europe, he says they have a 40% tariff on our goods. In reality, the tariffs are just 5.2%. He says Japan has a 46% tariff on us. The WTO, the World Trade Organization, says they only have a 4.3% tariff on most products. Trump says China has a 67% tariff on U.S. goods. The Peterson Institute, very conservative, found China tariffs 20% of what our tariffs are. So we're also now finding out that Trump isn't putting a 34% tariff on Chinese products like his chart said, but actually a 54% tariff on Chinese goods. And you know who's going to feel the pain of that difference, right? Smartphones, China. Toys, China. Batteries, China. Video game consoles, China. They could all become 50% more expensive. And we haven't even heard about what's going to happen with Mexico and Canada yet. They're not listed on Trump's chart that he was holding up. I thought they started all of this. You see, the lack of clarity is spooking the markets. The futures are already down over 1,000 points after Trump's announcement, and that's making some MAGA folk kind of try to have one foot in and one foot out right now. Uncertainty equals death in the markets. And many, even in MAGA land, don't get why Trump is getting the numbers so wrong or why he believes these moves make anything better, let alone great again. So this is something to look at. What is Liberation Day going to wind up being? Now, you can say, let's wait and see. But you also have to focus the criticism on the planning. You know the old expression, failing to plan is planning to fail? What is the plan here? And how does it pay off for the rest of us? Now, let's continue this conversation with somebody who will give us different perspective, understands Trump very well, understands the motivations within the administration, and that's why I love having him on every week. Bill O'Reilly, someone with a talent for tempering concerns about our president. Good to see you. We can start with whatever you want, but do you think I'm getting it right about Booker? That this celebration of him just talking for a long time about things that could happen is being a little overhyped? by the left or no? Am I missing it? Was that a big deal?
Nobody knows who Cory Booker is. He wants to run for president, so this is a way to get attention. That's why he did it.
That's what it was. All right, Wisconsin, does it matter?
Yeah, it matters because Wisconsin now is a blue state. No more swinging out there. Not a swing state anymore. But the reason the Republican loss isn't because of Elon Musk. That's absurd. Republican exit polling shows that he was so strident on abortion that independent women in Wisconsin just broke for the Democratic woman. It was an abortion play. It's a small state. Lots more money came in to prop up the Democrat. And Wisconsin voters did okay voter ID. So it was the candidate that lost in Wisconsin, not the ideology.
That's an interesting take. You know, the money wound up being about even, but the Democrats certainly had a big head start on it. And I would be careful about how you define the issue. Even if you're right about there being a female factor here, it's not as simple as abortion. It's a rights issue for them, Bill, that you guys took a right from an entire class of citizens for the first time in the modern era.
Whatever it may be,
well, it's a big difference.
If the Republican candidate had been a little bit more moderate, the race would have been closer. He was just too conservative for Wisconsin. That's why he lost.
Although Trump won Wisconsin pretty handily.
Yeah, but Trump's not a conservative. He's a populist. There's a whole big difference, and we've gone over that. So how about the Liberation Day?
Go ahead.
Couple of historical notes, because that's what my strong suit is. Donald Trump is now the biggest disruptor in presidential history.
Because?
He has passed Teddy Roosevelt, left him in the dust, poor Teddy. And the disruption is worldwide, not just in the United States. But the data is on Trump's side. We have been getting hosed since World War II by the trade imbalance. And the reason that's been overlooked by most presidents, two reasons. Number one, way too complicated, way too risky to get involved with it. So you can do what Biden and Obama did, was just ignore it completely. In the first term, Trump tried a little, but the numbers are staggering. And the best part of Trump's speech today was that he said, if you go to Japan or South Korea or China or Germany, you're not going to see any American cars because they won't let them in. Now, you can get a little chart and say, oh, it's not 40%, it's really 8%. But the regulations that these people put on American products to get in makes it impossible. And then some European nations slap a VAT tax on there. That doesn't come under the tariff umbrella. So Trump is right. We're getting hosed. I don't know whether taking on all of this at once is a smart move. And you say the futures are down. Of course they're going to be down because it's a disruption. Any disruption in the world drives the market down.
Yeah, they don't like uncertainty. They don't like uncertainty, but I think it's more than that.
Right.
I think it's more than that, Bill. I don't think it's just taking them all on at once. One, it's not as simple as everybody's ignored this. We consume so much more than all of these other marketplaces. And that's why the tariffs have been in place over time, is because they didn't affect the American markets the same way. I think you can make a good political argument that you're making right now, that it's unfair. Yeah, you can make that argument. But that's why they've existed.
Hold it. It did affect American markets, but not in the way that people think. So let's go to Bernie Sanders. Let's go to the income inequality crew. Well, why do you think there's so much income inequality? Because the high-paying union manufacturing jobs went overseas. And they were replaced by service jobs that don't pay as much, or public service, or whatever. So what Trump clearly said is, I'm going to bring back those manufacturing jobs. People are going to invest in plants in America. That's going to heighten
but that's an if.
The potential to earn money by Americans.
But that's highly speculative. One, most of the jobs that we lost.
Nobody knows whether it will work.
But you don't.
You don't know whether it will work.
Right, but you don't do something. No, it's not a plan. It's not. It's not a plan. It's a guess. It's a
Yes,
guess.
it
And here's
is.
why it's not a plan, it's a guess.
Not a
Here's why.
guess, it's a plan.
Here's why I think it's a guess, what you call a plan. Because you don't know that these tariffs will make people come back for two reasons. One, time, okay? It takes a long time to repatriate. Two, even if they have to absorb the tariff, the cost structure is still way in their favor, especially when you don't make them pay any taxes. Three, the number one reason that we lost jobs here wasn't just because of cheap labor, it was innovation. And innovation has only increased in manufacturing, meaning that there wouldn't be as many jobs
Innovation
anyway.
of making T-shirts?
Innovation of making
That's a bunch of
T-shirts,
bull.
of making, it's fact. It's not bull, it's the opposite.
No matter what it is, if it's mittens or earmuffs or whatever, you can make it cheaper in South Asia.
True.
All right?
True.
But the debate, here's the debate. Apple already said it's going to move a humongous amount of manufacturing from China to the USA. The Emirates already said it's going to move $1 trillion into the USA. Now,
What do the
you can
Emirates make?
believe it, you can ignore it, you can do whatever you want, but this buoys the Trump administration. Lutnick runs in and says, look at this. They're going to come back. So it isn't a guess, it is a plan. Now, sometimes plans don't work in history, but this is a bold economic move designed to give working Americans more options to raise their assets. That's what this is. And these people who oppose it have no plan B. They're fine to let these tariffs ride. Okay? Obama didn't know even what a tariff, not Obama. Biden didn't even know what a tariff was. That's how crazy that thing was.
No, that's not
Okay.
true. In fact, he left a lot of Trump's tariffs in place.
All right, Dusty is talking
All right,
to me
let's
in
take
Chinese.
a break. I know.
what Dusty's
I know.
saying.
It's all about
Okay.
time. It's all about time. A watch probably made in China. So we're going to take a break. Bill's going to stay with me. 4 minutes and 35 seconds. Come on out. We're going to really get after here what the state of play is with this presidency. You heard Bill's argument. Geraldo Rivera sees it differently. So we're going to have a battle of the big names. And then I want to see if they agree on whether or not Musk is on the way out. And if so, why? And if it's good or bad. Next.
Thanks for listening to News Nation on the go. Senior national correspondent Brian Entin. We're here for you 24/7 on the News Nation app or on your Alexa. Just say play News Nation.
7%. That's tariffs charged to the USA, including currency manipulation and trade barriers. So 67%, I think you can, for the most part, see it. Those with good eyes, with bad eyes. We didn't want to bring, it's very windy out here. We didn't want to bring out the big charts because it had no chance of standing. Fortunately, we came armed with a little smaller chart.
So do we just need to give it time, or is it time to worry? Early polls have the people saying by over a 50% margin that the tariffs are too much and the efforts to lower prices are too little. Geraldo Rivera joins me and Bill O'Reilly now. They have different takes on what this all means for our times. Hey, it's good to see you, Geraldo. Hope you had a good vacation. I've been here with O'Reilly. You left me all alone, but don't worry about it. So when you look at these moves, Geraldo, what do you see between the tariffs and Wisconsin? Like, what do you think? Where are we?
Let's just start with my vacation, Chris.
Sure.
Because the family, Erica, Sol, and I did visit Japan, just back. I can tell you, we went the length and breadth of the island archipelago, and the big cities like Tokyo and the others. We did not see a single American car on the road in Tokyo. Not a Caddy, not a Buick, not a Ford, not a Chevy, not a nothing. We have plenty of Toyotas here in my neighborhood and around the country. So why is that? Now, I have an innate sense that there's something unfair going on vis-a-vis the American consumer. Now, I heard O'Reilly say that the numbers, give or take, don't really matter, that the experts will figure it out one way or the other. But I think that if these numbers are correct, or some fraction of them, if the trend is correct, if there's not an essential lie being told here, and if we are getting screwed by these foreign producers, then I think it is fair. If the reciprocal tariff, the key word is reciprocal. If they are screwing us, we've got to tax them at least, and he's saying, President Trump, that half is about the right the right amount. Well,
Right.
I don't know. The experts have to determine that, but I just think that there's it smells something rotten.
But what
in
I
another
don't, what I
state
don't
dealing
get
with
it,
Denmark.
Bill, what I don't get that you guys are saying is what part of you're going to pay for these tariffs do you not get? And that's why people are worried about them.
Well, number one, after hearing Geraldo's answer, I think he should go on vacation again because it was clear and cogent and correct, the 3 C's. So, Geraldo, thank you very much. Maybe Australia, okay? You're not going to see too many American cars down there either. Number two, I'm not going to be affected by the tariffs, Cuomo, because I have an American car that I like, and I'm never buying a foreign car. I never have, and I never will. Okay, so they can raise Mercedes-Benz up to $300,000, and I don't care because I'm buying American. I'm buying American hats. We have not woke hats on BillO'Reilly.com. I'm buying the Chinese. All right, I'm buying everything American. Now there are people who say, "Oh, the American companies are going to see the price rises in the foreign goods, and they're going to rise their prices as well." Possible. It's capitalism. Can't stop it. But I am a value shopper. And I will go in and I know, what things used to cost and what I believe is a fair price. So if Americans discipline themselves, all right, and I don't think there's a tariff on American-made Chinese food, which is obviously the most important thing, and particularly if you live in New York, you're not going to get hosed. I don't think too many people are going to get hosed. And eggs here on Long Island, down 50%. Gas down $1.
Not because of tariffs.
So, hey, no, I'm saying that prices in America are coming down.
Right, but Geraldo,
And
a lot of
the
things,
problem
is-
it's not just cars. It's going to be
if I
consumer
may,
electronics and a lot
if
of
I
other
may.
things, Geraldo, and they're going to cost more, and people are going to have to pay for it.
But the problem
If you
I
buy
have
that
with
stuff.
this tariff
Yeah, people
program,
buy it.
the problem I have with the tariff program, just as it is with the government getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, and there is a feel about it that is improvisational. It's almost as if President Trump is flying by the seat of his pants and he's saying, this works for me. Musk has this great idea. He's come to me, and now I can save billions and trillions and lives, and life expectancies would triple. And let's get this guy. It doesn't seem to be a prudent approach. I don't know about Mexico and Canada, the two biggest aspects here, excepting China. So you have Mexico and Canada. What is he going to do with Mexico and Canada? We had the North American Free Trade Treaty that worked fairly well, except the Americans seem to be footing most of the bill. How are we going to do this? How are we going to?
Well, the MCA that he negotiated is better on that. You raise Musk. Bill, what do you make of, there are two narratives. One is the one I offered, which is Musk is making trouble for the administration and they're going to Fauci him. The other one is, no, Tesla's taken a beating. He's done all he can. He's got to get back to what he does. He's helped enough. What do you think the reality is about why Musk may be getting pushed or whether he's walking away?
Well, as I said very early on, Musk is a short timer. It's just too hot. You just can't have a guy that hot. And he did a good job exposing the government waste, bringing it back onto page one. But now the technicians should take over. You don't need Elon to go out and sell it. It's sold. And most Americans know that we're being fleeced, the taxpayers being fleeced. So he accomplished what he wanted to accomplish. And I think he'll remain a Trump advisor, but I do think he'll go back to the private sector.
He did a terrible job in Wisconsin. He did a terrible job in Wisconsin.
No, it had nothing to do with it. If you look at the exit polling,
buy the votes. He tried to buy the votes of the people of Wisconsin. I know that abortion was a very, very big issue, but Musk made the Wisconsin State Supreme Court race a seminal race. He said it was historic. He said it's basically the end of history. This was the end of of an era. It's going to be now. It's going to be the Trump euphoria, Trump Valhalla. And they lost the race. He spent $25 million on a judge election. I mean, if people in Wisconsin looked at that and they said it stunk. He's trying to buy. You can't buy love. You can't buy my vote. And I think that
Geraldo,
whether he stays or not, I think that he's the greatest.
All right.
Well,
I'm glad you love him.
I think that he's wonderful.
If Elon Musk had anything to do with the loss in Wisconsin, it would have shown up on the exit polling. It's very simple. I'm a fact-based guy. I don't know this guy who lost. So today I put my investigators on it. It wasn't hard to get the exit polling information, and it came back too conservative, way too strident on abortion. Women broke big for the Democrat.
They had the race knotted up 2 weeks ago when Musk made the big push. They lost by 9.
Well, the Democrats made a big push at the same time by demonizing this Republican candidate, who wasn't a good candidate, by the way, as Attila. Here's Attila. You're going to take all your rights away. So it was Musk versus Attila.
You know, there was a good lesson for Democrats in this. One is the one you're talking about right now. Geraldo, the other one was you got to be on the right side of the 80-20s. I've lost a lot of debates about voter ID because I understand the disenfranchisement arguments, but I got to tell you, they're not compelling to the majority. Even though when you look at who doesn't have driver's licenses and why they don't have them and who's going to wind up voting less, you get why Democrats don't like those laws, but they're an 80-20 issue. Everybody's like, you need ID for everything. Wisconsin, the Democrat wins, but so does the ballot initiative for voter ID. What's the message in that for Democrats?
The message is that you don't go freaky on the voters who are innately conservative, even if they are liberal and woke. There's a conservative aspect to the American personality. Change is great, but it's not too much change. Transsexual, this, that. I think that right now, as things stand, Musk has an opportunity to be a seminal figure, to be a historic figure, to really having this unique co-presidency he has with Donald Trump, the opportunity to change things that needed changing. But the way they're doing it, I just wish they had a more measured tempo. They took on one issue at a time to crowd the futures market with this tariff as if it was, a Liberation Day. It was absurd.
I think you're right about stick with the people, and I think Bill is right that Musk has done what he can do, and he's going to exit stage left. So must we, gentlemen. I appreciate you being with me. Geraldo, you missed a good one with me and Bill and Stephen A. on Sunday. You would have loved it. Bill was great. Crowd? Bill was great. They were his people there. They loved him in Westbury, Long Island. But we had a good time, and the crowd loved it. You would have loved it. Bill, thanks for making it happen. It's great to have you both. Geraldo, I'm glad you're back. Look at me there. Look at me. I look like I was his chauffeur driver. That's what most people thought I was. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Fellas, I'll talk to you soon. Up next. From the Democratic perspective, what was the message of Wisconsin? And did Senator Booker really raise his stock by talking a lot, or am I missing it? And did Governor Gavin Newsom set himself up for success now by running to the right of Booker and the progressive left? Is that what his new podcast is about? We're going to look at this from two ends of the party, the very progressive and a big-time donor who left because of some of the progressives. Next.
This is Cuomo on NewsNation's audio stream, available 24/7 on the NewsNation app, or just say, Alexa, play NewsNation.
Yesterday, the American people understand that Trump is not on their side. The American people are seeing how bad Trump is, and they are not supporting people like Elon Musk and those who support Donald Trump.
Hey, Senator, take your own analysis and start coming on NewsNation and something other than MSNBC. If you want to connect with the majority, stop playing to just your little pockets of progressives. That was the message of Wisconsin, okay? So you have that election which is connect to the common concerns, all right? You have this speech in Congress by Cory Booker, and you got a podcast that is fueling this shift by, really the biggest Democratic governor in the country, all right? So is there a change in the state of play for the Democratic Party? Let's look at it with two different ends of that party, all right? You have Brian Tyler Cohen, BTC, proud progressive. The YouTube host, 2 billion views. I'm jealous every time I say it. And John Morgan, who is a self-made billionaire. So take that. He raised millions of dollars for the Democrats, now feels the party lost its way with wokeness. How does he feel now? John, I love you. Thank you for being here. BTC, thank you. I love you. It's always a pleasure. So I'll start with you, Mr. Morgan. What's your analysis of why Wisconsin went the way it did? Is O'Reilly right that it was just about abortion?
Yeah, he's right. Wisconsin is Wisconsin. When I think of progressive, and I'm not against progressive, I think it's a, it's a beautiful thing if it could happen. But Madison, Wisconsin is the center of progressive Democrats. I'm not surprised that they won. And abortion always wins. And the Democrats got very excited about Kansas and Ohio for the Trump race because of those abortion issues. But at the end of the day, woke and DEI beat abortion.
No small irony that one of the most profound forms of DEI is the Electoral College. And yet here we are with Wisconsin also concerned about it because it has overweighted importance. Brian, did you see different or additional messages in this win and in the voter ID passage?
Yeah, I think to be perfectly honest, I think that this was in large part a repudiation, not just of the issues, like to your exact point, the abortion issue, but I think also a repudiation of Elon Musk and his willingness to just interfere so openly in these elections. I mean, he made this election a referendum on himself and his involvement here. The guy has an approval rating that's 10 points deeper underwater than even Donald Trump, and so the strategy that caused him to go out to Wisconsin and make himself the face of this campaign, standing up there handing voters $1 million checks and just blatantly buying them off. Look, I tend to think that rubs people the wrong way, and just generally, I don't think it's too smart to find the least popular person in Republican politics and send them into Wisconsin so that when voters are going to the polls, that's the last thing they see.
Brian, just a quick follow, and then I want to come to John on it as well. Two different messages, right? What worked for the candidate, but I think that ballot initiative is a reminder to you guys. When you see an 80-20 issue, you got to be on the 80 side of it if you want to connect to the majority. I know the arguments against voter ID. I know who it disenfranchises, but the majority doesn't buy it. You saw that. They went for the Democratic judge, but they went for the ballot initiative to make voter ID a reality. What do you take in that?
Well, this is the status quo. The reality is that there is voter ID already in place by statute. Now it's a constitutional amendment, but nothing changes. And so I understand that Republicans want to frame this as some giant win, but literally nothing is going to change in Wisconsin by virtue of this being passed. But look, I hear you on the fact that this is an 80-20 issue. I also hear you when you concede that this does disenfranchise folks who don't have access to this stuff. And so I think the onus is on us to make sure that people who would be disenfranchised by virtue of stuff like this being passed, that we have solutions for people who wouldn't have IDs, for example, who can't afford IDs, for example, to make sure that everybody has the ability to vote.
Well, you got to play what's right versus what's resonant. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
correct.
I could argue what's right.
The reality is it's a practical matter.
That's
and so
right.
if we're in a situation where these laws are being passed, okay, we have to play on the playing field that we're given.
Right.
And so figure out a way to get these people IDs, figure out a way to make sure that people aren't disenfranchised.
So, Handsome John, in what you see in Wisconsin and what you saw with Senator Booker, what you're seeing now with Gavin Newsom, are these good signs that you guys have a brighter future? What's your read on the state of play?
Well, you guys are those guys, not me guys. I'm kind of in the middle. What I think is happening right now, first of all, Elon Musk is a disaster. Look, I'm a guy that grew up where my dad got fired a bunch, okay? There's nothing more devastating for a family than for the breadwinner, the king, to lose their job. It's devastating. It's humiliating. it scars me to this day. I have trouble firing people to this day. When you got that jackass with a buzzsaw coming in and making fun of it, this is, I believe there's government waste, big time. I believe in it, but you don't be gleeful about what this does to families. It's a devastation, no matter how you put it. Now, right now, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. And I agree with Carville. Let's wait and see. I would rather let Trump's policies take shape more than 100 days so you have something to really talk about. As far as Gavin Newsom, look, Gavin Newsom lit the DEI fire. Gavin Newsom was the guy calling for African Americans in America each to receive $350,000 each in reparations. Do you know what that did to the MAGA crowd? Do you know what that does to the people who believe they're being reversely discriminated against? He lit the fire. And now he's showing up with the fire truck, going to put the fire out because he's been listening to Bill Maher. And he's going, you know what? Bill Maher makes more sense than me.
What's your take on that, Brian? Give me a last word.
I mean, I can't really opine on Gavin Newsom's future, but I did want to say one thing on Cory Booker, and because I know that you brought that up at the beginning of this question, and that is that the one thing that I've wanted to see from the Democratic Party is this sense of fight, is to eliminate the asymmetry that we're seeing in between the two parties, that Democrats are weak and Republicans always find a way. Republicans always figure out a way not to take no for an answer, and Democrats never seem willing to go get yes for an answer. And so even though nothing material changes from yesterday to today in terms of Cory Booker being able to stand up on the Senate floor, at least we saw him put his body on the line, show some fight, show some spine, go to the mat, and show people that he's willing to actually stand for something. And my message to the rest of the Democratic Party is, if you are not willing to meet that bar in whatever way that it may be, maybe not standing on the Senate floor, but meet it in whatever way it may be, then step aside for somebody who will. Because we're at a moment right now where we do need people who are willing to fight, willing to show some spine, willing to break through in this media environment. That's what Booker did. I think he deserves props for it, and I hope we see more Democrats follow his lead.
BTC, I appreciate your take. John Morgan, you still out there?
Brian, I'm in Maui, but Brian, my deal is this: fight a fight you think you can win, that you might be able to win. Don't fight a fight that you know you're going to lose.
Right. Don't be the man in La Mancha. Don't be tilting at windmills.
No, because guess what? You know what we're living in right now? This is Atlas Shrugged 2.0.
Yeah. Feels like Thunderdome. I'm just looking for Tina Turner. Maybe that's your role, John. John Morgan, thank you very much. BTC, I appreciate you. I love that you said you cannot opine. You can opine on anything. That's why you got billions of views. Thank you both, fellas. I appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
Up next, the opinion I care about most, yours. Have your say, 844-968-7720. What do you got? Let's get after it.
Tomorrow, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt joins Morning in America, talking tariffs, the president's latest moves, and what all Americans can expect next on Morning in America. Tomorrow, beginning at 6 a.m., 5 Central, only on NewsNation.
Chris, I enjoy your show. While we may agree or disagree, we're never disagreeable, and I appreciate your points.
This is the place that respects all Americans.
Congressman, we're always welcome here.
NewsNation, news for all Americans.
All right, you ready to have your say?
Yes, we are. We're going to start with Matt from Los Angeles.
I feel like the energy is wrong in this place. Come on a minute.
Hey,
let's go.
Chris.
Hey, what's your question? Go in the comments.
Aren't we just feeding into Trump's playbook by paying attention to everything he's saying and losing focus on what's important? We're not talking about the Middle East, Ukraine, or the real issues with China.
I hear you. But first of all, he's the president of the United States. These tariffs are a big deal. And, it's always like that. You guys lose interest in things all the time, and we have to go like in and out of subjects. So I promise you, I'm not taking the bait. I'm telling people not to take the bait all the time. And what we're doing here is we're just focusing on what matters, and we move it moment to moment. But I hear what you're saying. I'm on the same page as you. I smell what you're cooking. Next.
Thanks.
You can read it yourself. It's right here. Michael. No, don't look at the question, though. You got to be surprised. Michael from North Carolina.
Yes, Chris, I got to say, I am completely impressed with your non-partisan reporting. I have worked all day today on getting my contacts to work on the congressional investing that is totally out of line.
I mean, how crazy is that? Just crazy. Can you imagine if you heard me say, oh yeah, I'm investing in this company, and then I had them on the show to be like, hey, this is great. I'm investing in this. Or you find out I invested in it afterwards. It's crazy. We don't let guys bet on their own games, even if they bet they're going to win, but we let members of Congress bet, and then this is how you know how crazy it is. That Republicans and Democrats disagree about everything, except they should be able to invest and blame their spouses. You taking pictures of me right now?
Taking selfies.
You never know with her. You never know if it's going towards a lawsuit. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes she documents things. You got to be careful.
Or the New York Post.
Yeah, that's right. You are the leaker. You're the leak. Next.
Greg, save me, Greg.
What's your question?
Hey, Chris, thanks for taking my call, Mr. Positive. Hey, boom shakalaka.
How you
Love
doing,
you,
Mr.
brother.
Positive?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for taking this. If you had an audience with the President Donald Trump, what one question would you ask him? Thanks for taking my call. Love you. Everybody go for your dreams.
Go for your dreams. I like that.
I'll tell you what he was going to say. He said if you were with Trump and you had one question only, just one, what would it be?
What do you think? I didn't hear him?
Oh, did he finish?
Yeah, he finished.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, no, we didn't hear him.
See, nobody pays attention.
Okay.
Nobody pays attention. What would be my one question for President Trump? I don't know, Mr. Positive. That's a very good query. I can't even get around the idea that he would invite me. And even if he did, by the way, I think Bill Maher did the right thing going. I think it was great that Kid Rock set it up. I'd like to have Kid Rock on to talk about it, so I'm talking about it on Fox. I think conversation is the cure. And I think this is crazy that we think you can't talk to one another because you disagree. I think that we're only helping the parties and making everything as poisonous for dialogue as we can, and it only helps them. The only people who get helped by us hating each other over stupid stuff are the parties. I'm telling you. I don't know. I mean, look, my big question is always why. With the tariffs, why? With what he says, why? It's always why. Like, what's your motivation, man? What's your philosophy? What are you about? Or is it just pragmatism, and just each one what works for you? All right?
He's rapping you.
I know, he's rapping me. I like it.
We're doing a big town hall at the end of the month, and we've invited Kid Rock, FYI, just so you know. Kid Rock, join us.
This is Ben. This is the guy who helps me with everything that I do, by the way. I just wanted to come in here, keep them on their toes,
I go to break. Go.
We'll be right back.
This is NewsNation with a trust rating higher than any of our competitors. NewsNation is proud to be America's fastest growing cable news network. See for yourself at joinnn.com.